Now, of course, everyone's hyped up for this year's iPhone 13 since there's only a few months left until September, but what if some people would be better off sticking with their current phones for just one more year because of how game-changing the 2022 iPhones are expected to be? I know that sounds crazy, but the leaks and rumors that I'm about to show you are so impressive that you might actually end up skipping the iPhone 13, and trust me, you're gonna be surprised. Now, most of the leaks right now are pointing to the iPhone 13 finally having a smaller notch by moving the speaker grill right up next to the frame and reducing the width of the notch, which is very exciting, but the truth is that the notch is still gonna be there, and it's still a bit distracting. On top of that, some analysts believe that it's gonna be an S year, so it might actually be called the iPhone 12s. But the main point is that there won't really be drastic changes coming to this year's iPhones. There will probably be some nice tweaks and upgrades like finally getting 120Hz support, stronger MagSafe magnets, and in-display Touch ID, but things like the cameras won't be drastically changing, just getting some minor improvements. And this all makes sense because we just got a full super cycle redesign with the iPhone 12, so we can't expect too many hardware changes. But I believe that 2022 is when Apple is going all out with their iPhones, including a brand new iPhone model that we've never seen before. So let's get right into it. Way back in 2019, Ming-Chi Kuo correctly leaked the iPhone 12 lineup. And within that leak, he also mentioned that the highest end iPhone in 2021 would have no lightning port. Now, he initially mentioned that it would be completely wireless, but I personally disagree with that because of a patent that Apple filed showing a new magnetic connector which replaces lightning. So we made a full video on that, but I believe that it's likely that Apple will switch to this new wired MagSafe connector before they would go fully portless, since this connector will be able to transfer data while improving convenience and water resistance. Now, whether or not this happens for the iPhone 13 Pro Max this year, I'm not sure, but we did also have a rumor from John Prosser saying that we will have at least one portless iPhone model in 2021. But either way, I'm very confident that we will be seeing this new magnetic port coming to the iPhone 14 lineup in 2022, basically making it portless, since a connector is technically not a port. Now, moving on, we have a very interesting and kind of hard to believe leak from Ming-Chi Kuo. He says that at least the high-end 2022 iPhones will be getting a hole punch display design, similar to a lot of the higher-end Samsung phones like the S21 Ultra. Now, this is a bit hard to believe because Apple would have to figure out a way to move the Face ID sensors and components away from the display area to get rid of the notch, since we're pretty sure Apple will continue to use Face ID for many years. Now, since most of the iPhone 13 leaks show that the speaker grill is being moved to the top, literally right next to the frame, I personally believe that the best way for Apple to do this is to split the sensors apart and fit them on both sides of the speaker grill, allowing for a nice and thin bezel. And then on top of that, Kuo mentioned that he expects at least one iPhone in 2023 to have a full screen display with no notch and no holes, which is the dream. Now, a couple of months back, DigiTimes claimed that the LiDAR scanner that we currently have on the iPhone 12 Pro models will be expanding to the entire iPhone 13 lineup. But I find that hard to believe because LiDAR just came out with the 12 Pro, and recent leaks are also pointing to the less expensive 13 models not getting LiDAR, as you can see in this leaked CAD image. But based on that, I fully expect the entire iPhone 14 lineup to get LiDAR in 2022, so that's definitely something to look forward to. Now, moving on, we're basically 100% sure that the iPhone 13 Pro models this year will be getting 120Hz refresh rate on the displays. And because of that, there are some people expecting the entire iPhone 14 lineup next year getting 120Hz, but in my opinion, I don't see that happening until at least 2023. The reason for that is because Apple first released ProMotion 120Hz back in 2017 for the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. And now, almost 4 years later, the only Apple product with 120 Hz is the iPad Pro. Not even the new iPad Air that was just released a few months ago. So because of that, it seems like Apple wants to keep the high refresh rate a Pro exclusive feature, at least for now. So I expect Apple to only give it to the low-end iPhones in 2023 at least, just to make the Pros feel more exclusive. And at that point, the Pros will probably have 240 Hz refresh rate, since Apple actually won a patent for an iPhone display with variable refresh rate up to 240 Hz. Now the same thing goes for another leak from Digitimes, claiming that every iPhone 13 model will be getting sensor shift stabilization this year. I once again think that just the iPhone 13 Pros are gonna have this feature, including the smaller model. And then next year, it's gonna come down to every iPhone 14 model. And on top of that, since TSMC's 3nm chips are expected to hit volume production in 2022, we can for sure expect powerful 3nm A15 chips in the iPhone 14 lineup. But now, let's get into the very juicy leaks that prove that the 2022 iPhones are gonna be absolutely game-changing. Ming-Chi Kuo says that the iPhone 14 Pro models will get a 48 megapixel main camera that's capable of shooting 8K video. Now this is a huge deal because for the past 5 years, iPhones have been strictly limited to a 12 megapixel main camera, even the brand new 12 Pro Max. And even better, Kuo says that Apple will use pixel binning to merge the 48 megapixel output down into a 12 megapixel photo, which will essentially make the pixel size a massive 2.5 micrometers, larger than what any smartphone can do, bringing it close to professional camera quality for low light imagery. This and the new 8K video recording feature will essentially bring smartphone photography to a whole new level, and it would basically bring 8K video to the mainstream, since the industry usually follows in Apple's footsteps. Now on top of that, Ming also mentioned that the 5.4-inch iPhone mini size will be discontinued in 2022. And that's of course due to the very low sales numbers that the current 12 mini has, which ultimately led to us making this review showing off why it failed. Now with that, if Apple's getting rid of the mini size, then what are they gonna replace it with? Well, apparently Ming-Chi Kuo says that there will actually be 2 large 6.7-inch iPhone 14 models next year, a low-end model and a high-end Pro model, which is really weird. I personally have a hard time believing this because currently, the people who want a large display have to pay extra for the Pro Max model, and that means extra revenue for Apple. But with what Kuo is saying, people can get a large display for a cheaper price. So because of that, I have a totally different theory. What if the second 6.7-inch iPhone is actually a foldable iPhone? Now I know that sounds crazy, but let me explain. We've been getting leaks about Apple's foldable phone for months or even years now, with everything ranging from patents for the hinge system to even sending foldable phones to Foxconn for durability testing. And these leaks started way back in 2017, especially with this patent image of a foldable iPhone with a flexible display. But then on the other hand, they also applied for patents for a larger iPad mini-like display with 2 separate panels instead of a flexible panel. So here's my theory. What if Apple is actually working on 2 foldable iPhones, and the first one that's been rumored to be coming in 2022 will have a flexible 6.7-inch display that folds vertically like a flip phone, like you see in this image. And this could totally go in line with a report from the Verifier last year claiming that a new foldable iPhone is coming in 2022 for $1,500, which actually seems like a reasonable price. This makes total sense because last year it was reported that 2 different foldable iPhone prototypes passed internal durability testing. So I did a little digging and I found that John Prosser is thinking along the same lines as I am, but obviously before I realized this. One flip phone style foldable and one larger foldable. So I personally believe that next year, Apple is gonna release a 6.7-inch iPhone flip with a flexible display for around $1,500. And then in the future, maybe 2023 or 24, they'll release the larger foldable that has two separate panels. So yeah, I told you that next year is gonna be world-changing for Apple. But beyond that, Ming Chi Kuo is also expecting an iPhone SE 3 model coming in the first half of 2022. But it looks like it's gonna maintain the same 4.7-inch display for at least another year. And apparently, Ross Young believes we'll be getting a fully redesigned SE model in 2023, with a 6.1-inch display and a hole punch camera instead of a notch. So there you guys go, that's basically everything you should expect in terms of 2022 and future iPhones. And I've gotta say, it's gonna be an absolutely killer year for Apple because they're gonna be changing the smartphone camera game with the new 48 megapixel camera, and they'll basically make foldable phones mainstream by releasing the iPhone Flip. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you disagree with anything that I said, leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed it, go ahead and tap the like button and click the circle above to subscribe. Definitely check out one of those two videos right there. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.